What's going on, Des Moines? Today on Invitation by Invictus, we have Nataliya Boychenko Stone. So we were just having a conversation that I got to make sure I say the Stone part. So shout out to Jason Stone, which is Nataliya's husband. And that's actually how Invictus met Nataliya. We actually filmed their wedding. Was it the end of
July 31st?
Yeah, I want to say a couple months ago, but it's more than a couple months.
Time flies.
Yeah, for sure. So I asked Nataliya to come on because Nataliya is another boss babe here in Des Moines. I like to say she works for Holmes Murphy. Are you still a professor or an associate professor?
Adjunct at Drake.
Okay, at Drake. And then Nataliya is just really involved in the community and everything kind of about it. So for people that really don't know Nataliya, let's kind of talk about where you came from and how you got here. So like the Cliff Note version, you grew up in the Ukraine, correct?
I grew up in Ukraine up through high school. So I moved here right after high school for college.
And you went to Drake, correct?
I started at DMAC,
okay,
and then went on to Drake. So I was at Drake for my undergraduate, went back for my graduate, and then just couldn't leave. So I just feel like you just stick with Drake.
So you've actually been a native Des Moinean for 20-something years?
Since 2001, so almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. So what physically brought you to Des Moines? Why did you leave the Ukraine to come to Des Moines? Because that's such a random thing, I guess.
You know, at times when I think back, you don't know why certain things happen, but they align just right.
Right.
And when it aligns, you just know that's what you're supposed to do. So when I was in high school, we had an exchange program with Rockwell City Lytton High School, which is right by Fort Dodge in Iowa.
Okay, yeah.
At the time, I got an opportunity to come to visit the States for about a month and a half. So it was just a quick exchange program. I thought I was going to Beverly Hills. Minor detail, Iowa may have been slightly different. But at the same time, when I came, Jen, I just knew I'd come back. So somehow I came, so I would have been 13, 14. And since that time, I just got this idea in my head. I want to come back to go to college. So when I got back to Ukraine, my mom met me at the airport. I don't remember it, but she remembers it. She said, "Hey, how was the trip?" And I just said, "You know, it's great. And I don't know how and when, but I'm going back." So then since then, my mission was to go back to the United States for college. And I looked at every opportunity, knocked on every door, and just looked for how you'd come back.
So did you do an exchange program with DMAC?
I did not. So when I graduated high school, I graduated early at 16. I came straight to DMAC as just an international student to go to college. And at the time, so it's a small world too, DMAC was fantastic to come to. It was close to, I went to Ankeny campus, but it was close to Des Moines. So it made it possible to get to know the community and get to be more accustomed, but at the same time, it wasn't as large as it would have been a university campus.
It was a good acclimation.
It was a good acclimation. But DMAC had the year of Ukraine so one of the years, out of the 2 years that I was at DMAC, it was a year of Ukraine. You would have thought out of any country, out of however many foreign students they have, it was kind of fantastic. So I just felt like you're just back home.
Yeah, you were meant to be here.
You're meant to be here. That's exactly right. It just felt like things just fell into place. Even getting here, as impossible or improbable or difficult as it was, things happened just the way they should have happened.
Right. That's amazing. That's like serendipity, like to the T.
And especially as you get older, you look back and you think through certain things that had to just fall into place, people you had to meet just at the right time for it to make sense. It did.
Right. That's amazing. So you did 2 years at DMAC Ankeny campus and then went to Drake and completed your university.
So I completed my undergraduate with major in finance.
Okay.
So Yeah, I love numbers. So that was the other part of, as I went to college, I knew I just love numbers. I love numbers, but also I love people. So this was a interesting combination of what I was looking to do.
Because your mom's a banker back in the Ukraine, correct? Okay.
Mom was in banking.
So it was kind of a natural fit. And then, so then you received your MBA as well?
I did. So years later, it was a few years after my graduation, I kept thinking, I really want to teach someday. And, you know, ideally when I retire, maybe I'll teach at the university. Well, the opportunity came a little sooner, but that was part of my drive to go back for my graduate degree. One, I wanted to be able to teach, and two, there's just so much I wanted to learn too on a business side.
So did you go back to Drake for your MBA? Okay. And then, so let's kind of talk about, so when you graduated the first time you graduated, you went to work for
Holmes Murphy.
So you went straight into Holmes Murphy.
So I graduated while I was in college. I was paying for college while I was going to it. So I worked for Wells Fargo all during college. Different jobs, part-time jobs. I tutored. I did a lot of the different things. But then for my primary job was at Wells Fargo. So I did banking, which is coincidental, but not. That's what I felt comfortable with.
Right.
Although being a kid, I remember saying, I will not be a banker. But you fall into it. So I worked for Wells Fargo all through college. And then as I graduated, I had an opportunity to meet my mentor at Holmes Murphy. And that's how I moved over to Holmes Murphy.
So you graduated, went to Holmes Murphy, went back for your MBA, and you're still at Holmes Murphy, which we'll get to. But when did you start doing the whole adjunct professorship with Drake?
So I want to say 2014, maybe 2015, so a few years ago. As I was graduating, I don't know, it's all the years just come together. As I was graduating with my graduate degree, one of my professors came up and asked me, hey, will you come back for a PhD? And I honestly, Jen, love to go to college. So if I could be a full-time student forever, I probably would be a full-time student.
For the rest of your life?
Probably, or at least a part-time student plus the work. But it's just fascinating to learn, and you get to meet people, you get to have an opportunity to open up your mind. Anyway, so I was speaking, it wasn't a graduation, it was one of the events that we had, and one of the professors said, hey, you should come back to get your PhD. I'm like, well, you know, I thought about it, but it's just not really what I want to do.
In finance?
In anything. So if you wanted to come back. I'm like, you know, I just don't quite see myself doing a research for that long. I love studying, but not quite in the same manner. But so then I said, you know, I kind of want to come back and maybe be an adjunct or do a seminar class for graduate students or something like that. And in that conversation, Assistant Dean was part of it. She's like, you know what, do it. Send me some topics you want to teach, and just let's do it next semester. So that's how it started, and I haven't stopped.
So what do you teach at Drake now?
So I teach a class, it's a seminar class, so it's 2 weekends for a graduate program, MBA, MPA students. It's called Business of Politics in Our Healthcare. So I kind of get an opportunity to speak a little bit to what I do for my full-time job, but also you get an opportunity to learn other countries, their systems, healthcare systems, what works, what doesn't work. So it just creates a 2-day experience for the students. I usually have a lot of good speakers that come in and talk from different business aspects of what they do and how it actually works. So it's a fun class.
Yeah,
I think so. But
yeah, for sure. And then you do this once a semester, 2 weekends, and then you go right into the spring, do the same thing.
So typically I'll prefer, my busy time at work is usually fall, so I'll teach in the spring, and every spring it comes around, I'll do a spring class. Cool.
So any future MBA students at Drake, if you see Nataliya, now you know why. So.
Take the class, it's good.
Excellent. So let's kind of shift now. Let's talk about your real job. Okay, so let's talk about Holmes Murphy. So you started fresh out of college, and then kind of talk about, I guess, you know, what you did starting out to where you are now with Holmes Murphy.
It's been quite a path, Jen.
Yeah.
And so many years too. I had an opportunity when I started an employee benefits area. And Holmes
Okay.
Murphy, for those of you that don't know, we're
Right.
an insurance broker, independent insurance broker,
Right.
meaning we consult businesses on insurance decisions.
Mm-hmm.
There are two primary lines that we focus on: employee benefits and property casualty. So when I started, and I've always been on employee benefits side, but employee benefits plans and what we could do are a lot of different things. So at the time, you could be on sales or service side. I started on service, just I wanted to know how things worked and what teams did and how you worked with clients. And I literally went through every role on the service side. So anything you can imagine, I stepped through it. And now I am on the business development side.
Got it.
And also co-lead our division. So from my experience with Holmes Murphy, yeah, every role you could have at Holmes Murphy, you could probably
Yeah.
ask me. I've done it.
Yeah, because
On some capacity.
you started there at what, 22,
Yeah.
something like that, and so you've been there for 14 years. So yeah, so you were like Girl Friday. You did everything, right?
And it's kind of fun. So Holmes Murphy, those who don't know Holmes Murphy from Career Opportunity, if you're looking for jobs or if you're just having kids looking for jobs, consider Holmes Murphy hands down, just because it's such a unique organization where you can craft your own future. So I think what kept me there all these years is you had an opportunity to figure out, look, this is where I feel my value is most appreciated and needed. This is how I'd like to run my business and how I'd like to go forward. And Holmes Murphy has been wonderful to deliver that, to say, okay, if that's what you like to do, that's
what we'll do for
yeah,
you. Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, because they have that massive building now out in Waukee, right? Off of what's that? Grand Prairie.
Grand Prairie Parkway.
Yes, yeah, that's huge. So, and that's where your office is out of.
So we moved there. I used to say just moved there. We moved 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And it's a fantastic building. It's a cool, you should come for a tour.
I will.
It's a cool building. It was designed with an idea of us to be able to openly communicate with each other. So all teams within Holmes Murphy, it is a fun building. So when we are there full time, not
Right.
during the COVID time,
Right.
it's actually a really, really fun building.
Great. So let's kind of talk about what you're doing now. So, because you're also a shareholder for Holmes Murphy, right? So you just don't work for them. You actually have a little stake in the game.
That's right. That's right. One of the unique aspects of Holmes Murphy, we're privately held, meaning our employees own us.
Correct.
So we have a little over 150 shareholders today. We have over 1,000 employees at Holmes Murphy, meaning that those 150 people own Holmes Murphy.
Right.
It is a unique opportunity to be able to buy into the company, and as you grow with Holmes Murphy, you may get that opportunity to become an owner. And I do believe that's what keeps the company grow, and that's what keeps us privately held too. You
Right,
have
for sure.
employees just like myself who are so passionate about our company, who want to grow it, who want to see us succeed. And also, we were given the opportunity from the previous generation that they could have sold the company too, but they've given us the opportunity
Right.
to be able to grow. And now we feel that it's our role to get the next generation to step into those shoes and be able to perpetuate the company forward.
Right. Just keep the momentum going.
So from that perspective, I've been a shareholder for quite a few years now. And that's been a fun journey. I'm excited that you get an opportunity to do it. You know it, you're a business owner, so you know what it's like to own your business. This
Yeah.
is just owning a much larger business with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, you guys are a far larger scale than us, and just the five of us running Invictus. So
But you do amazing work, so that's what counts.
yeah, we definitely have, very similar to, it sounds like, what Holmes Murphy has. We definitely offer that collaborative environment. So, I mean, I think every person, and this is probably the same for Holmes Murphy, when I interview them, I tell them, I'm getting old, so I'm building my legacy for you guys to take it over. So, yeah, so I understand 100% that perspective. So I basically tell them, this could be your company one day, to whereas, I don't want to be working, for the rest
Forever.
of my life. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can build it up, build you, teach you. And that's how
Correct.
we approach it too. We have a really strong internship program where we do look for employees or students that are just graduating college so they can come work for us. We can teach you insurance. Insurance isn't hard to learn.
Yeah.
It is much easier for us to find good talent,
Right.
And give them the opportunity to grow. So has historically been our approach. I know you asked me, what else do you do? So outside of all these things, my primary job is I work and consult employers, organizations just like yourself,
Okay.
on employee benefits. So whether it's medical, dental, life, disability, wellness programs, captive insurance, anything that could be in that realm.
Right.
And it's been such a fast-changing side of business that it's been fun to be a part of, whether it's healthcare reform or whether it is us getting ready for elections and seeing how things may change.
Right.
We're just in the midst of it. Or COVID. COVID's influencing every business on
For sure.
medical and every other aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're influencing the work from home aspect, and then, you know, like my girlfriend's a chiropractor, so like she's seen more people come in because they work from home and they're not exercising as much, or they're not getting up as much because they're working from home. So why do they need to get up? Like, it's not like you need to get up and go check on Bob, you know, down the hall at the office, right?
Or
Like,
someone steps in, then you go get coffee together.
yeah, yeah. Like, so like that aspect's missing. So like people are moving less. So I'm sure insurance claims are just going up because people are now having those issues, like back issues, for instance, and like they're having to actually use their
Insurance.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting you bring this up. So we've been running roundtables since May, of local employers coming together, just discussing different topics, COVID-related topics. And a lot of times we'll talk through clinical side or legal side or anything else, emotional health side. But from claims perspective, we have seen an uptick for COVID-19 claims, and we're just seeing the uptick. So the uptick happened. Some procedures have been postponed. They're not avoided, but we know they're being postponed to the end of the year, next year. But then you're also seeing an uptick for hospitalization. So that's probably one area of claims that we haven't seen before. Also emotional health. So we do see a significant uptick on mental health side.
The telehealth that it's associated with that.
Telehealth has been through the roof. So for any employer, I would say if we looked at your claims, or if we could look or analyze your claims, over 50% of their visits, doctor visits, that are telemedicine related are for mental health therapy.
Yeah.
Which, from any employer, I would say promote it as much as you can, that you make employees feel that it's okay. There is no stigma to see a therapist.
Yeah.
You just need advice, just like you would need advice in any other aspect of your life.
Yeah.
But that's been a big help.
I think some of that is because, you know, like you have that work environment to where you have that socialization, right? And now that's been taken away. So many people are struggling with that because, you know, I mean.
And you're working at home for an extended period of time, indefinite period of time.
Right.
Not only that, you also have kids that might be part-time at home.
Yeah.
Now they might be getting sick, so then you're dealing with that piece. Then you also have your husband or wife working right next to you, which typically you'd leave home, do your business, then you come home. So it's just, I think it's changing lives for every single person in such different ways. Some are positive, but it's just change. And we always say change is hard. It's just, even if it's the best of changes, it just takes time to adjust to. And for us to keep in mind too, Jen, think about it. We've gone through change to now, right? So we're talking about all these changes. Then we'll go back to normal. It'll be another change. So even though it's back to normal, it's still going to be experiencing the change and going through those motions.
Yeah. So from an insurance perspective, where do you see the norm coming back? Like, ideally, hypothetically?
Where is the norm? So I think trend-wise, overall, what we've seen, and right now is the time that I think most employers are making decisions for their insurance plans. So most employers renew January 1st, so they're making decisions for rates for next year, plan designs. I know that most most groups are not trying to make changes, unnecessary changes for employees, which requires a lot of them to take on more increases, or if they're modifying plans, it's as little as possible. I'm curious to see, as we get through this renewal, as we go into next year renewal, how much will employers pass on to the employee in cost increases or plan design changes in the next year.
Right.
So if it was on hold for now, just to kind of hold the breath until the next year comes, or as much as we can move forward, it'll be curious. But also, elections will determine some of that direction too, what will change and how it will change. So
yeah, it's crazy how, you know, like people are just kind of like, well, things might change right after, you know, November 3rd. So who knows, right?
Who knows? That's right. You know, we think back, it's difficult to make changes as big as they're being discussed, right? So it's just difficult. We know even under Obama administration, healthcare reform was a large piece of legislation. We're still processing it and still getting through a lot of it.
Right.
So it's difficult for me to imagine how it would change overnight, but you never know what that looks like.
What's going to happen. Yeah. So any business owner that's watching right now, if you need to have a conversation, and Nataliya will just meet with you.
Anytime.
Even
if it's just for you to say, hey, is this the best thing that we should be doing? We're happy to review. We're happy to give you ideas, and it's just thoughts of what you should look at. So
what's the best way to contact you to have that conversation?
You can call me at 515-321-3669, or email me. And I don't know, Jen, if you'll include my email.
I will include your email.
Yeah.
I have it. It's nboychenko@holmesmurphy.com. I know this because that's how we communicated for a long time. I was finally like, can we just meet over Zoom? Because it's a lot easier. Because I miss meeting with people in person. So I was like, I just settled and I was like, how about a Zoom call? This is like, Zoom's like not awesome, but it's the closest thing. So, So contact Nataliya if you just want to have a conversation, and just try. She will help you navigate through all of your questions.
And even if it's something that we can't help with, if it's just individual coverage question, I can find you at least somebody that can help you.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I will tell you, Nataliya is a very, very helpful person.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. And you know, you talk about what got you here, but what keeps you here is the other question, right?
Right.
So it's just, for me, it's being able to help others, whether it is in your business, whether it's at home, or whichever way I could help, I'll be happy to help.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you love helping people. I know that the boys told me, because I was out of town for your wedding, because it was a very last minute thing. And the boys were like, she was so helpful. She was just like, do you guys need anything? Or can I do this? And it's like, no, just enjoy your day.
It was a fantastic day. For those of you that are listening, if you need a wedding videographer, your team is just magnificent.
Well, thank you. I beat them and I make sure that they understand. No, I'm just kidding. Just totally kidding. No, it's just kind of like, you know, we look at it at the wedding aspect that, you know, you're already stressed out over X, Y, and Z, right? So, and then, for instance, for Nataliya, her mother could not be here because of COVID. So when we had the conversation, it's like, you know, that was our primary responsibility, was to capture the content so that we can send it to your mom so that she can watch it. So, and then I didn't know your sister was going to be here. So when we were in post-production, I actually got teary-eyed listening to your sister talk about, you know, how you and Jason met, and the flowers and all of that. So I was just kind of like, I was like really quiet, and Hunter, who made the video, was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine.
You know, I was so proud of her too. She's the only sister I have, but she is just a little second half of me.
Yeah.
And when we were getting ready for the wedding, and she was writing initially as a toast, and she was saying, well, you know, maybe my husband will do it. And at some point she's like, you know, it has to be me. Yeah. There's nobody that knows you since you were born. It's me who knows you since you were born. So
because she's your older sister?
She's the older sister.
Okay. And where does she live?
She lives actually here, so she
Oh,
lives
okay.
in Grimes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well, that's nice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so,
So up until I married Jason, I actually lived right next door to her, or just in the neighborhood. So it was
Oh, okay,
actually
cool.
really convenient.
yeah, nice, nice. My girlfriend's sister lives in Grimes, so we go over there quite a bit. So it's a nice little area. Yeah, so let's talk about your wedding, because that's essentially what brought us all together. For those that don't know the story, how you and Jason met, let's kind of talk about it, because I think this is a great story. It's like, it's such a good love story. Like, if you, it's almost like it's so surreal it came out of the movies.
You know, we sometimes think back, and you think things had to happen the way they had to happen.
Right.
And you had to have certain people had to be in your life, certain events had to happen in your life for you to have the opportunity to be together today. Jen, so for me, I've spent a large portion of my time just focusing in my career.
Right.
And, you know, sure, I thought, well, what would that future husband look like at some point, or what would he be like? Now, having Jason in my life, I couldn't even imagine someone better than Jason.
Yeah.
So what I got is just a significantly better version of what I was hoping for, or was looking for. But
Your
I would have
sister
never
even
thought.
said that too.
And
Yeah.
even she met him. I was traveling, I was in Ukraine, and we were dating, and I took some time to just slowly get to know him and really just take my time to figure it out first. She knew that I was dating Jason, but didn't meet him right away.
Right.
He decided to surprise me when I was coming back from Ukraine to have a ton of flowers waiting for me at home. So he went and found my sister and got her to help him. And it's funny, you know, by the time I came back, first of all, it was a big surprise. And then second of all, my sister, after a while, she goes, you know, I feel like I met your future husband.
Yeah.
And she was so spot on. And, you know, she said at the wedding, I never felt that way before. I never thought of anyone that way before. Except for Jason.
Yeah. Jason bought out the entire flower shop, in case you guys need to know.
It was buckets and buckets of lilies everywhere.
Yes. Yeah,
So that's cool.
when we were listening to that, I was like, what is she saying? Because she's laughing and kind of crying at the same time. And I was like, he bought that many lilies? And like, Hunter's like, yeah, like he bought like the whole flower shop. So
It was pretty awesome. I love lilies. He not only got lilies that I love and I've never seen, they're just most beautiful, fluffy, just beautiful, but they're also organic. So they came from this organic farmer, Bob, who literally cuts them like in the morning, and he packages it and sends it out. So it was just, this is a whole production.
yeah, organic farmer Bob. Good job, Bob. You killed it, dude.
He killed it. But yeah, Jason and I met years ago. He was in my 40 under 40 class, or actually we were together in a 40 under 40 business record 40 under 40 class.
Yes.
And actually at that time, her common friend Bob Stewart made a connection of, oh, you know, you should be in this business group, where a few of my friends were part of the business group, and it's just a business development group that meets once a month. So Jason and I have known each other for years, Jen. I mean, we were in the same business group for years.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know that much about Jason. I mean, all this time, I just knew what he did, and I knew that he was Jason Stone, and the same
Which
way
he's an
knew me.
attorney.
Yeah.
Right. So you just knew Jason the attorney.
Yeah. And
From your group.
Right, from my group. And he just kind of, he laughs when I say that, but I put him in a boring attorney pile of people that need to know. You have it in case you need to know.
Yeah,
Reach
those are good people to know. I have one of those too. Her name's Carolyn Gunkel. So I'm like, Carolyn, can you look at my lease?
That's right. Just take a look at it.
Yeah.
So from Jason's perspective, that's how we knew each other. And then time goes by, and he was married for many years. And I met a good friend of mine for a drink. And literally, it took us 6 months at least to get together. So we finally get together. We're sitting down at Trostel's Dish, having a conversation. You may remember, well, they closed now, but they used to have like this long hallway, so you could
Yes.
kind of sit at the table and you could see
Yeah.
as people come in. And I was talking to Amy, and I paused because there's this good-looking guy that walks into the door, and I just pay attention that you just see a silhouette coming up to you. As he gets closer, I realize that it's Jason Stone. I'm like, oh, silly me. And I almost went to interrupt Amy in her conversation to say, Amy, you wouldn't believe it. I was just looking who was coming in, and then I thought it was a good-looking guy, but it was Jason Stone. So Jason comes up to both of us, and he knows both of us.
Yeah.
Amy leads Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute. He says hello and walks away. And Amy turns to me, she's like, oh God, it's so sad about Jason. He's getting divorced. And I know it's really sad, but I remember thinking, my God, he is really interesting. Maybe I should get to know him. But then it took me weeks to even come up to the idea of maybe I should reach out to him, but what would I say?
Yeah.
What would he think? Well, what if I don't like him? So anyway, that took that took some time, but since then we were together.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Does Jason know that he was just in your average boring attorney?
He does now. He does now.
That's good. Next time I see Jason, I'd be like, so you're in that pile, huh, buddy?
He came out of that pile as I got to know him. Like, who knew? Who knew?
Who
You
knew?
know somebody, but you really have no idea.
No clue. So you guys were actually supposed to get married at the beginning of the year, or right around the COVID stuff, right?
So, no, we scheduled our time. It was supposed to be July 31st, so it was the date that we got married, but we made a lot of changes.
Oh,
around
that's right.
COVID
You
time.
downsized.
We downsized.
Yeah.
So we put together a list of invites before COVID. And then, you know, for me, it's my first wedding. And we thought, you know, let's just invite anybody we wanted to invite. You know, let's not cut people. We just, whoever you want to be at the wedding,
if you want to come,
Yeah.
you can come.
You're welcome to come. And then COVID happened. So I think that was the hardest thing to now say, okay, now that we can't invite everyone, we got to narrow it down to the closest of 50 people.
Yeah. Yeah. To be safe.
To be safe.
Yeah. It's crazy how much that's made such a change in people.
But it's still a beautiful day. I do think, secretly to myself, I do think maybe next year, maybe the year after that, we do something bigger for those that couldn't attend.
Yeah, like a bigger reception or a one year
something.
party, something like that.
Or something.
Yeah, for sure. Because how many people were on your original list?
So we had, I think, like 84. So it would have been, what, 160, 70 invites.
So you
or,
just
people, so 84 invites.
So you just cut it in half.
Even more than that. So we sent out 23
Okay.
for less than 50 people.
Jeez. What was it like being a bride during COVID? Were you just like, I mean, you're already stressed out and you already have all these things that you're thinking of, right? Because you just want to make sure your day is absolutely perfect, not for you, but for the groom, for your family. Like there's just all these things.
And so many moving parts.
Yeah.
I think, Jen, so the day after the wedding, although it was a beautiful day, it was awesome planning it. Well, first of all, I had a fantastic husband out of it. But the stress level, especially as it got closer, was so high just from thinking through the weather. Should it be outside? What's the best thing to do for those attending? Should we get a tent? If we get a tent 2 weeks prior, we had to make that call. What would that look like? And also, I'm an insurance, Jason's an attorney. Both are very, very risk averse and careful as to how do you make sure you are hedging all corners where you could have people exposed.
Correct.
So that was a process. I will say every vendor we worked with has been magical. I think, even from your team to a photographer, Whitney Warren.
Whitney with Ivory House,
just magical. And also our wedding was at Glen Oaks, and they accommodated amazingly from before we were just making arrangements before COVID to COVID happened. Now post-COVID, what we're doing, they were so good.
Glen Oaks, we've worked with Emily. So Emily Fairburn, she is like, they are on top of it. It's like a machine over there. Like anything weird or strange or whatever, they're just kind of like, oh, okay. And then they just
it's
roll
okay.
with it.
No, we'll just, and they were a fantastic partner. And I had a few friends that were getting married around the same time. And they had to change locations, or, certain vendors didn't work out. We never experienced a single hesitation from Glen Oaks to be just most open and accommodating from every angle.
Yeah, they, like, their machine. They just, they can prepare, they can switch, they can pivot, they can do whatever. So.
And it was, by the time they got it all said and done, it was just gorgeous and absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I missed out. That's like the one wedding I wish I was really at, but we were, unfortunately, we had a planned vacation. But yeah, I still watch your wedding video every once in a while. I send it
We
to.
do too. We watch it all the time, Jen.
I sent it to a couple of my friends, and I was kind of like, hey, what do you guys think? And like, they literally send me the crying emoji. They're like, oh my God, this is like the best that you've done so far. And I was like, yeah.
When we saw your video, I mean, we still cry and we look at it. It's like, hey, Jason, what should we do? Oh, let's watch our video.
I think my favorite scene, or my two favorite parts out of that was, for those that don't know, Nataliya can sing.
And as a parting gift, here's a gift from Nataliya to Jason.
Fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin?
She could sing her ass off, I'm telling you. And she surprised Jason with a song that they played after they got married, and the expression on Jason's face that was so genuine and so pure. Like, I got teary-eyed just seeing it, because he was just so overwhelmed already, and then that comes in and he's like, oh my God, is this you? And it's just like, it was amazing. Jason is definitely not a guy that hides his emotions. So yeah. And then, my other scene was, when your sister gave her toast. So, because I've seen the entire toast, because we've sent it to your mom. So I've seen the entirety of it, and it's just, it's amazing. So
I remember thinking too, my sister used to say, whoever you're going to marry, they have to fit into our family. Like, and it's, I can understand what she's saying, just from each family has this unique patterns of how we are and how we operate, and what makes you comfortable in that. Today, the Jason part of it, I don't know what it was before Jason. It's just such a natural fit. He just fit so naturally.
Well, you're so close to your sister, so somebody has
to
get along with them and fit into that dynamic. Or if they don't, they're just going to probably get stopped over. So
That's right.
Good for you, Jason.
And you belong. I mean, now it's a family of a lot of strong women.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about you being 40 under 40, and then this year you were in the business record, because that, I actually watched that, because I didn't know this, because I didn't know very much of Nataliya, but when we came back, I saw it, and it was, you were part of the business record Women of the Year.
Emerging Women of Influence.
Yes. So
it was such an honor.
Yeah, they picked you because you were part of the 40 under 40 previous?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was just something separate outside of the 40 under 40 nomination. So 40 under 40 happened, for me at least, I think it was 2011.
Okay.
So then, just now, I was honored as Emerging Women of Influence, and Jen, women of influence that were honored this year are just most amazing list of women. We had an opportunity. I'm a little saddened that it was just COVID time, that you couldn't actually see everyone and have that opportunity to sit down with them. But I look forward to that time to get to know each one of them.
We actually had Dr. Kyosho Scott here in our studio for a Chrysalis Foundation thing. She's badass. I like her a lot. She was funny. Like, she kept I I would say the conversation that we had, she kept it going, and I was like, you go. So, yeah.
No, it's just most amazing. We had a few times where we got together for happy hour, at least getting to know each other
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But every time it ended, you were just thinking, oh, I wish I had a little bit more time, or I
Yeah.
wish I could talk
Yeah.
to this person, or I
Yeah.
wish I had a little bit more time
Yeah.
to get to know them. But it was a fantastic. I'm honored to be a part of it. It's just
Yeah.
a fantastic
Yeah, I
event.
thought that was great. So congratulations on that
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank
and
you.
then if you guys want to go check out that video, it sits.
It sits within Business Record.
I want to say or maybe Business Publications or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put that at the we'll scroll it underneath. That's what we do in our post-production time. So, I mean, let's just kind of wrap up. Again, Nataliya, if I'm a business owner, what's the best way to contact you?
Email me, call me. I'll be happy to review your insurance, just see what you have, help you answer any questions. If there's something different that you should be doing, we can talk about that too. But I'd love to get to know you.
Yeah.
Whether I get a chance to do business with you or not, I just love an opportunity to.
Nataliya's the bomb, so give her a call. Email her. She gets back to you quick. She is on it. And then the class that you teach at Drake is called what again?
Business of Politics in Our Healthcare.
Okay, and that's in the
It
spring.
is coming back in the spring. I don't think I have finalized my dates yet, but it will be coming out here soon.
TBD. Pay attention, all you Drake students.
That's
and
right.
then if you want to track down Jason, since we talked about Jason, it's Jason Stone at Davis Brown.
Law.com.
Yep, there you go. So we'll put Jason's information in there too.
You know.
There you go, Jason. I hooked you up. Well, thanks so much for coming. We appreciate the time. I love always talking to you. Sometimes I want to be like, Nataliya, do you want to Zoom?
I always, and the feeling is mutual. So
Great.
no.
That's great. I do enjoy talking to her. And then if you want to watch Nataliya's full video, you can always check it out on our YouTube or Vimeo page because it is there. It's about 10 minutes, but I promise you will love watching it because we definitely made it love story wise. So it's one of my favorite videos this year that we've put together.
It is my favorite, hands down, probably forever.
Yeah.
I don't think anything can top that.
Well-
Jen, we still watch it, and we watch it like this.
Just glued to it. Yeah, that's great. That's what we want. We want that feeling every time with our brides. So
Thank you.
thanks so much for showing up. And again, track down Nataliya at Holmes Murphy. Contact information is listed right here. And then I promise you will not be disappointed having that conversation with Nataliya.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So check out Nataliya, Holmes Murphy. And we out.